when you're talking to a freight broker on the phone, that's one of the easiest ways you can increase your profitability is how you approach freight broker negotiations or just the whole process of booking loads as an owner-operator. How you approach the negotiation can easily add $200 per load. So just take $200, and oftentimes it's a lot more than $200, but if you multiply however many loads you haul in a year, add 200 to it. I mean, I think most everybody's getting higher rates than what the posted rate is, but hopefully you are. If you're not negotiating at all, then you're really leaving a lot of money on the table. And this applies more to people that are working the spot market, people that are calling off of DAT and Truckstop or other load boards. Obviously, the more specialized the trailer you have, the higher the price you're going to be able to demand. And it's all going to come down to it's all supply and demand. The more truck capacity there is, or the more, really it's not even truck capacity, it's trailer capacity. The more of your type of trailer there is in a specific area relative to the volume of freight they're trying to move out of that area, the lower your price is going to be. The fewer of your trailer type there is in that area, and the more volume of loads that need that trailer, the higher your price will be. And it's not the broker's job to try to give you the best price to make sure you make a lot of money. It's their job to move freight as efficiently as possible for their customers and for them to operate profitably as a brokerage. Before you make the phone call to book a load, some things you got to know ahead of time. You got to know the market you're in, both the broader, what the spot market's doing for your trailer type, and you've got to know for that specific region or city where you're trying to book the load out of. So if you have no idea what a fair price is in that area for your trailer type, how can you even negotiate? So that's like a bare minimum of knowing what the market is doing in that area. And so you can just quickly, just by looking at the load board, if you're looking at loads, you see what's coming through on your load alerts. That gives you an idea of what the market's doing. The market's always going to be above whatever's posted on the load boards, because that's posted rates. That's not negotiated, agreed upon rates. So there's always extra money on top of it. They're posting those rates, expecting you to negotiate at least a little bit. And I kind of try to anchor my price point to the recent loads that I've hauled in better markets is kind of where I'm trying to anchor to. I've been trying to stay north of $4 recently per mile, but I know it is Arizona. Reasonably with the market, it's at probably $52.50. I know that's significantly higher than what you have it listed at, but I could probably come off of that a little bit, but it would have to be closer to that number than the 43.80 or whatever that you got it listed at. You might hear the numbers and think, oh, these prices are really high, or you might think these prices are really low. I have no idea when you're going to be watching this video. I can be profitable at much lower prices. I don't have a truck and trailer payment, so I've got tons of extra profit, but I'm not going to do anybody any favors because I've put in the work to get equipment paid off, Like recently, my load alerts, I've got the minimum set at 1,800. So nothing will even show up on my load alert unless it's over 1,800. But normally for tarping any load, my minimum is 3,000. For using 10-foot drop tarps, my minimum is 5,000. And of course, I can always break those rules anytime I need to. And if you've ever been in a really bad freight market, it doesn't matter what floor you set. The market, you got to come to terms with what the market's going to give you at that point. So that's just part of the game. And kind of get to that bad market, well, you got to make sure you get your money going in. So that's one of the reasons to ask for more money is if it's going into a really bad market. I ask for more money for tarping, like I said. The size of the tarps makes a difference. Fuel prices has been an easy one. Toll roads, how many tolls do you have to take? Is it a multi-stop load? That takes extra time and money. And if it's picking up at a shipper or it's going to a receiver that I know has a history of taking a long time, then I'm going to mention the detention policy not being, that doesn't cover my losses or my cost to wait around. And so I need more money just for the added risk of getting held up especially on the receiving end, because that could cost you your next load. And there's no way in hell a broker wants to actually compensate you for the lost time on losing a load or delaying you by an entire day if things get really held up. I mean, the detention policies are just a complete joke. They don't even come close. If you're looking at recovering lost revenue of a minimum of $1,000 a day, and really it's been closer to $2,000 a day recently. So yeah, $50 an hour starting at 2 hours. That's nothing. That's almost equivalent to a $150 or $250 tarp charge. Like, I couldn't care less about a tarp fee. Like, all I care about with tarping is the total revenue. Is it worth it to get the tarps out, go through the headache of messing with them, and the time it takes for $2,000? No. I mean, if it's not even worth cranking the truck up for $1,500 or $1,800, whatever, or $1,000, whatever your number is, you really want to spend an extra 45 minutes to an hour, or some of the more difficult tarp jobs you could spend an extra hour and a half tarping the load. I've had a few brokers, more than a few, a lot of brokers recently have mentioned clear English. It's nice that you speak English clearly. So who would have thought that just being a hillbilly redneck that could kind of halfway speak English would be a selling point these days, but that's the world we're in. It actually is a selling point. And I don't negotiate on all of them. If there's a legal load that only weighs 20,000 pounds and it's strap and go, and they've got it posted at $5 per mile, I'm pretty happy with the rates you've got it listed at. If my MC number works for you, then I can pick it up this afternoon. Like, I'm not trying to negotiate. If they've got it listed at a really good price, I'll take it. And if they haven't posted at a good price, they probably know they haven't posted at a good price. So if you call them and you're trying to squeeze an extra nickel and dime out of them on a load that's posted at $5, they know within the next 10 minutes they're going to have 20 more phone calls come in, and you're trying to negotiate, they're probably just going to tell you no quickly. But if you were to just book that load, then you got your foot in the door. You can haul a lot more of those loads. Don't be an idiot. Whenever I'm calling a broker, I don't really approach it like I'm just trying to book my truck for this next load. I'm normally thinking of the person on the other end of that phone call as being a potential business partner in the future. So I'm kind of interviewing the broker to see if it'd be a good fit to work with them long term. What the freight brokers are looking for is they want drivers that are reliable, consistent, show up on time, you communicate clearly. If problems come up, you offer solutions and you communicate what problems happen and the solution that you're providing. You don't just call and complain and just cry about problems all the time. You get your paperwork turned in on time, and obviously you get the load there safely and in one piece. They might have 100 other loads problems or just complaining about this problem, taking up their time when they've got all these other loads on their plate that they're trying to manage and deal with. I mean, you need to understand they're under a lot of pressure to get the loads moved, and they're in business to make money. I mean, the negotiation side of things is I mean, it's a two-way street. Yeah, you want to get as much money as you need to be profitable, but I mean, the broker needs to make money too. They might not always need to make as much money as they make, but they still need to make money. If I want it to be a long-term relationship, well, two things have to be true at the same time for that to happen. I've got to make enough money for me to be happy, but the broker also has to make enough money for them to be happy. Because if either one of those is not true, it's not going to work long term. Let's say you're in a great market for trucks and you're able to negotiate a great price for you. However, that great price for you, like you turned the screws and squeezed them for every last nickel you could and got a great rate. But if that broker just broke even or had to take a loss in order to get that moved, well, they're probably not going to want to work with you, next week or 2 months from now, whenever you're back in that same area. Like, your name and number in their contact list is not going to be a good memory. But I'm never going to try to book a cheap load or, a cheap price. It's got to meet some minimum standards. Now, certain times I'm trying to get out of an area, but the worst thing you could do is just, like, they've got it posted for a bad rate, and maybe you want to go to the city where it's delivered or something, you're trying to get there, so you called about a load cheaper than you normally would have, and then you just agree to take it. Like, if you take a cheap load to start that relationship off with, they're just going to expect you're always going to take loads for cheap. So I would say really try to avoid hauling cheap freight. And if you do have to haul cheap freight, I mean, if you have a specific reason, maybe the market's terrible where you're at, you just need to get your truck out of there without a massive deadhead, or for whatever the reason is, I would try to communicate that with them on the phone and just let them know, you can't do this on a regular basis. One thing to keep in mind, that there's way more experienced owner-operators that leave comments on my videos is one thing I've noticed in the past. So don't forget the comment section as a valuable resource. Some guys will leave like multiple paragraph long comments, and you can find 2 or 3 golden nuggets within a single comment. So check out the comments.
About 10 miles, turn left.
And if you're somebody that's left those comments, I appreciate it. I think that helps a lot of people out. From a strategic perspective, the timing matters. Like, if you call late in the day, you're more likely to get a better price. If you call late in the week, you're more likely to get a better price. If you call about a load that you're trying to book for the same day, it's often easier to negotiate prices. If you're calling about a load on a Monday and that load doesn't pick up until Friday, well, there's not really a sense of urgency that the broker has to get that load booked right away. One thing, or this is, like I said, it's just how I do it, but I try to get straight to business and not waste any time. I saw a load you had posted on Truckstop Load Board. You're trying to move something from Tucson over to, is it Huron, South Dakota? Just because you don't really know if the broker is looking at a computer screen with hundreds of other loads they're responsible for. They might have 3 or 4 other phone calls on the other line. I think it's best to just respect their time and just try to get down to the point as quick as possible. So I normally just call, introduce myself. This is Todd, I'm a truck driver. I'm calling about the load you got posted from point A to point B, wherever it is. So normally, after I've introduced myself and told them which load I'm looking at, mind determine who am I talking to? Am I talking to a decision maker, or am I talking to somebody at a mega broker? I mean, if you're not familiar with a brokerage, it's always going to be better to talk to a decision maker, because they're going to know how urgently that freight needs to be moved. They're going to know exactly how much additional money there is. They're going to know if they can easily call that shipper and get more money if more money is needed. And oftentimes there is. That's one point. Don't be scared to ask them to contact their customer if they need to get more money. If they're below the market. I mean, if you're just asking for some astronomical amount of money, that's not reasonable. That's different. I mean, I've had 3 brokers recently that have gone to shippers. One of them, the shipper balked at the price. 2 other ones, they ended up calling me back with more money. So it never hurts to ask. And then as far as the getting straight to the point, down to business, you should be able to read throughout the call, or just kind of how much of a sense of urgency they have. If they are sitting around with nothing to do, then of course you can be more conversational, and it's actually better. That works into your favor. If you can be more casual and conversational with them, then normally that'll lead to a better price for you, or in my experience it has. And if the person you're talking to is not the decision maker, then I mean, it doesn't really, I don't think it changes anything right off the bat, but whenever you get into price negotiation, then just be prepared to ask them if there's someone else they can talk to that has more flexibility. Well, okay, find out what he can do. I don't think I can do it for 3. I mean, I'm risk if I don't find something else to put on the trailer, I'm almost at a loss or just barely above break even on that with fuel. Would you want to call me back after you talk to him, or how long it'll be before he'll be in the office? And I think I've already gone over. I think I already mentioned earlier. I took like a 15-mile break while I was waiting to get into a tailwind. But I think I mentioned earlier the different reasons that you would ask for more money. But honestly, the best negotiating point you have, or leverage you have, is just not hauling the load, not agreeing to their price. And normally, if I'm asking for a reasonable price, or maybe if I'm asking for the upper bound of reasonable, and they're below the market, and if they don't meet me halfway, then normally I'm not going to agree to it. If you don't agree to it, and you haven't been professional and respectful up to that point, and actually showed a real interest in hauling the freight and working with them, then you ending the call and not hauling that freight is the end of the conversation. There's no more negotiation going on. But if you've done everything right, and you've showed that you are interested in hauling the freight, and you are interested in working with them, and you've asked questions. One thing I like to do is ask, what type of customer is this for them? How long have they had the customer? I don't always get into it, but if I don't, when I'm booking the load, normally I will follow up with them either while I'm hauling the load, or right after I've delivered the load, or maybe while I'm sitting at the receiver, and just ask them if it's how many of these loads do they move a week? Do they have other areas of the country? Like, what cities do they move the most freight out of? Where are their biggest customers at? What trailer types do they use the most? Like, I'll ask, if I had a flatbed, would you be able to keep me busier than with my step deck? Or if I had an RGN, would you have better paying loads that I could haul? So just kind of get an idea and a sense of what they move, where they move it to and from, and what trailers they use. And that's just giving you information on, well, it gives you a lot of information. It might be worth it for you if they've got really high pay, you never know. You might be talking to somebody that has really high dollar freight, but they use a lot of Conestogas, and maybe it's worth it to throw a Conestoga kit on your trailer. Or maybe they have a lot of reefer freight, or RGN free. You never know. And I keep a list. This one thing, if you're not doing this already, I would really suggest you create a separate list. Like in Apple, you can create a contacts list that's separate from your main contacts. And so I've got a list that's just brokers, and I may split that up and even just have like a top 10 brokers list and just have it kind of cycle through the brokers that I'm working with, you know, at that time most often. And I used to save the commodity and the locations down in like the business info or company info, or just the extra notes. You know, they've got that section. But I've kind of switched over and found it's better to just add that at the end of their first name or last name, and then you can see that while you're scrolling through the list, and so you can quickly identify who the broker was, what the commodity was, the areas that they have the freight. And sometimes, you know, if it's too long, some of it will get cut off, but that's fine. It's easier to have it up there than to have it down in the notes or in the business info section. If you're not going to be able to haul that load, let's say they can't come up to you and meet you at whatever price you feel is reasonable, and so you get off the call. Well, before you end that phone call, you always want to leave the door open to both them calling you back and you calling them back. I'll tell them something to the effect of, you know, if I make another 10 phone calls and can't find anything in the next 2 or 3 hours, I may give you a holler back. And I'll let them know if you happen to find some more money in it, or if you talk to the shipper and you can get some more money, just give me a call right back. I may still be sitting here looking for a load. And so that works whether you have your authority or if you're leased on somewhere. But if you have your own authority, I found one additional step that's even stronger than that, and it's worked for me twice within the past 3 weeks, is going ahead and getting a carrier packet set up. And I started doing this not really as a negotiation tactic or method or anything like that, but just to save myself time, because I hate setting carrier packets up at the last minute whenever I'm like trying to go pick up the load, and who knows how much deadhead there is. So I started asking if I wasn't going to be able to haul that load. If you want to, you could send me that, and even if we can't work it out on this one, I might be able to work with y'all in the future. And by taking that step, you save yourself time down the road, but also it shows them that you're really serious about working with them in the future, and they're much more likely to call you back. Like I had one guy call me back after like 45 minutes. Like they had sent me the carrier packet, and I hadn't got around to setting it up yet, but they called me back with an extra $700. Unfortunately, I'd already booked another load, but I had another one recently, same situation, call me back, and he had spoken to the shipper and gotten more money. And so I was actually waiting on another call back from a different broker, and they didn't get back with me in time, so I ended up booking the load. And that's also just efficient for your time. If you're already on the phone with a broker that has what you think is good freight that you'd like to haul, go ahead and get the carrier packet set up. Don't waste your phone calls. So, and as far as a follow-up strategy, if I'm calling them back, and let's say I did make a few more phone calls and wasn't able to come up with anything, then I'll normally just tell them, yeah, we're in a bad market. But I don't stop trying to get more money. That's one thing. If I call them back and I just tell them, I wasn't able to find anything else, and you still have it available, and during that discussion, I will 9 times out of 10 tell them I'll make make sure it's clear that the price is not the price it's at is not good with me, and so I'll normally still ask for at least an extra $100. You know, I'll just mention, you know, it would be nice if you could add anything, even an extra $100 to the load. Would, you know, any little thing helps. So just, I mean, that's just being honest with them. If you're on the opposite end of the spectrum, I'm never trying to nickel and dime for an extra $100 or $200. Like if it's a good price, it's a good price. So you know, they need to make profit, and you need to make profit. So I mean, I just one guy that called me back recently, because he had told me how much he had in it, and it was a specific situation. He was taking over for a guy that completely dropped the ball, and so he hadn't negotiated these prices. But he basically was assuming a terrible broker's customer. And I asked him, I was like, I want to make sure you're not coming out of pocket and you're going to lose money on the load, because I mean, I do want... if you think the brokers aren't worth anything and they don't do anything, they just sit around and push paperwork, well, go get your own direct customers. Like, they do provide a service. If it was that easy, then every truck driver would have all direct customers. Nobody would use any brokers. There wouldn't even be a market. There wouldn't be a spot market. And one thing that could be really powerful, and I don't do this, I've probably only done it 3 times since I've been an owner-operator, is posting your truck. Because that kind of shifts the whole the power dynamic, or who's got the upper hand in negotiations. If you post your truck and they're calling you, well, you've got the upper hand, because they're calling you asking for your help. And I may try to implement some type of systematic strategy. I get tons of emails. If you get your authority, I don't know, somebody sells the information. I don't know if brokers sell your information or the FMCSA sells your information, but I probably get 20 emails, and I'm definitely going to have AI is going to be filtering these out and just sending them all to one folder or label in Gmail, because I can't stand looking through all of them. But if I happen to get better load blast emails or load emails from brokers asking for quotes on different things, that's kind of similar to posting your truck, when you'll have a broker contacting you asking for, you know, asking how much it would cost to move the load. So you normally will have an upper hand in those negotiations, but I don't really have a lot of experience with it. I'm really picky, so I don't want to put my truck out there and have like just a ton of phone calls coming in. I don't know if brokers look at posted trucks a lot or not. I've been able to stay plenty busy just calling loads that are posted on the board. And one other thing I don't really do a lot of, I've always got like a minimum rate per mile and a minimum like total price set. So I don't see the loads that are posted that don't have any rates. So if you're calling about a load that doesn't have a rate, I just don't have the experience with that. Although with, I think Bennett on their board, they don't, I just recently signed on with Bennett. They don't post any rates. I don't think Mercer does either. So if I end up calling them, then I guess I'll get more experience calling about those loads that don't have some price anchor point to start with. And if you've got a lot of experience calling about loads with no price to go off of, drop in the comments kind of how you approach that compared to calling about a load where it's posted at $3 a mile or whatever per mile, X number of dollars total. I mean, to be honest with you, I'm trying to not use the load board out, but I don't want to miss out on, you know, one thing I try to do is I'm always trying to increase my revenue per day. So I've got a list of brokers, and I can call those brokers whenever I'm heading to an area instead of getting on the load board. But what if there's a load that the past couple times when I booked freight out of that area, you know, this specific broker didn't have the load posted, and it may pay $1 more per mile than the loads I'm hauling. So I think it still is valuable to use the load boards and have just be aware of what's going on and what's out there. Because you might think you're hauling good freight at $4 a mile out of an area, and you might always call that same customer or same broker, but you set a load alert or you just do a search and you might find something paying $6 a mile or $7 or $8. Anyways, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. I appreciate you watching. Y'all stay safe out there. I'll see you in the next video.